Hey guys, Mr. Chalman here. There's a picture of my desktop here with my kids on it. I am going to show you a little bit about how to graph problems that are in vertex form. Okay, so you took some notes earlier today. I think Miss Eisencraft or somebody else had those notes for you. But anyways, quadratic form looks, or vertex form looks like this. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Now a, this value right here, if it's positive, tells you that the parabola is opening upwards, right? So it opens like this, okay? If this value is negative, it tells you that the parabola looks like this. So it opens downwards, okay, like that. It also tells you how wide or narrow the parabola is. Now, if you look at these two other numbers, h and k, that's our vertex. So that's the very first point we're going to start with is our h and k. So we're going to label that first. Although notice in the basic form of the equation, the h value is negative. So whatever this number is here, if this says x minus 2, then our k value is, or our h value in our vertex is actually going to be positive 2. And if this says x plus 2, then our h value is actually going to be negative. So we're just going to flip-flop the sign, and that's because it's negative up here. The k value stays exactly the way it looks right here. So if my example problem is y equals x minus h, oops, sorry, not h, let's go x minus 2, just like we were talking about. X minus 2 squared, let's go plus 2 to make it a little funky, right? X plus 2 plus 3. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is identify, is this parabola going up or is it going down? So am I facing like this or am I facing like that? Let's just do this. So is it going up or is it going down? Well, I don't see an a value here. So it's really confusing when you don't see that. Although if you remember when we were talking about variables, if I just had a variable all by itself, so like an x or like an a or something like that, I can always put a number right in front of that and it doesn't change it. I can put the number 1 right in front of that because if I multiply anything by 1, it doesn't change the value at all. So my a value in this case is actually 1. And I'm going to show you that. Rewrite this equation with a 1 in front of it because that won't change it at all. So 1 times x plus 2 squared plus 3. Okay, so now we have an a value, and notice that that doesn't change at all because I just multiplied it by 1. So in this case, my a equals 1. And notice this is positive, so that means this is going to be facing upwards. And my vertex, in this case, is the point hk, so this number and this number. But remember, whatever this number is right here, we're going to flip the sign. So instead of positive 2, we're going to say negative 2, positive 3. So we know that the vertex, or that the parabola is facing upwards, and that the vertex is at the point negative 2, 3. So let's graph that point first. So negative 2, positive 3. So that puts us right here. There's the vertex. There's the turning point of my parabola. All right. So we have to graph 5 points. This is one of them. And in order to do that, what I always like to do whenever I'm graphing points is I draw a t-table first. So let's draw a t-table. Put x on this side and y on this side. And the very first thing I do is I look at my vertex and I'm going to take a point on either side of my vertex. So I'm going to go one direction and go the other direction. So since this is negative 2, I'm also going to use the point negative 1. And I'm going to use the point negative 3. And some people go 2 or 3 more. I'm just going to go 1 more on top of that. So we're going to go negative 4. And looks like if I move 1 more this way, I get 0. So negative 4 and 0. Okay, so these are all the points, the x values of the points that we're going to graph. So I took my vertex and I just went one direction. I went 2 spots to the left and 2 spots to the right, 2 numbers to the right, and wrote those numbers down here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug those numbers in where the x is in our equation. So in order to get our equation equals, when I plug in a -1 for x, I have to do that in my equation. So let's go ahead and do the first one. Y equals, and I'm going to put the 1 in front of it just because it's easier. 1 times -1 plus 2 squared plus 3. So this looks kind of ugly, I know, but remember, if we just use PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, we can take care of this. So let's do parentheses first. So -1 plus 2, that's a -1. So that means 1 times -1 squared plus 3. So we can't do anything more inside the parentheses. Let's do the exponent. -1 times -1. Well, that's two negatives make a positive, so that would be +1. So this would be y equals 1 times 1 plus 3. Now multiply these two. 1 times 1 is just 1. 1 plus 3 equals 4. So y equals 4. So when this is a -1, this side is a 4. Okay, let's do the same thing again for -3. So y equals 1 times -3 plus 2. Notice I'm just plugging this value, this number in wherever there's an x. So I'm using this equation and I'm putting a -3 in where the x is. Okay, squared plus 3. So these two equations should look exactly the same, except for instead of an x, I put a -3 in there. Okay, so -3 plus 2. That also, wait, let me see here. Get that right? Oh yeah, -3 plus 2 is -1. Oh, this up here was a +1. Sorry. That's where I did a little error. 1 squared is 1. It doesn't change the equation at all. Okay, so if I do the parentheses first, this is a -1. Then I do my exponent, so -1 times -1 is +1. One times 1 is just 1. Ah, easy. It's the same. So let's go ahead and graph these 2 points so far that we have. So if I'm over here at +1, or I mean -1 on the x-axis and up to 4, that's this point right here, and then -3 and +4 is right here. Now this kind of makes sense since we know a parabola should look like this. Oh, what happened? Oh, I'm not sure if you guys saw that. Okay, so for some reason my camera froze. That's all right. So if I graph these 2 points, it looks kind of like this. These are these 2 points on this graph. Now remember, parabola comes down and both sides are like a mirror image of each other. So that kind of makes sense. So let's go ahead and we're going to do these other 2 points over here. Y equals 1 times, let's start with -4. -4 plus 2 squared plus 3. Okay, so I just took this point and I plugged it into our equation right here. So let's go ahead and do the parentheses first. So y equals 1 times -4 plus 2 is -2 squared plus 3. -2 squared, that's -2 times -2. Oh, two negatives equal positive. So this would be +4. So y equals 1 times +4 plus 3. So 1 times 4 is just 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. So y equals 7. And the very last one is this 0. Okay, let's plug the 0 in for our very last attempt. Y equals 1 times 0 plus 2 squared plus 3. Okay, 0 plus 2, that's just 2. 2 squared is 4. So y equals 1 times 4 plus 3. 1 times 4 is just 4. and 4 plus 3 is 7. So if I graph these 2 points now, I'm going to go over to -4 and up to 7. That's right here. And then I'm going to go over to 0 and up to 7. So that's right here. And if I connect these dots, whoo, I got myself a nice little parabola. And there you go. So taking a look at our work, I know that this part is kind of extensive, but remember that these things mirror each other. So if you do 1 point, or if you do the first 2 points on this side of the vertex, the other side will be exactly the same. And you can check it using math, just the way we did here. But when you make your t-table, notice how these points mirror each other. Okay, so I hope that helped. Please go ahead and email your instructors. If you have more questions, you can email me or any other teacher that you have for algebra. Okay, good luck, and hope to see you soon. Bye.